Feels like it's flown on by. Alright, I'm going to take the intro for the first one, because apparently I can alliterate this guy's name wonderfully. Or not his name, but the fact that he's the purple Protoss player in the upper right-hand side. It is Astrea from Alpha X.
In the top left, as the yellow Protoss, it is Lasak.
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 Cool. I feel like you used the wrong vowel at the end, but I'll live with it.
It works, it's fine. English is a very malleable language.
They can read it, it's fine. You know, you flamed me for not being good at alliterating Ryung yesterday.
Uh-huh.
I was really ready for you to come in and do Classic here.
I mean, I could, I guess.
I mean, don't feel pressured. I wouldn't want to, make you look like a fool like I did yesterday, but...
That is true. I don't want to look like a fool. But Astrea is already doing something really interesting, so this is a bit of a cop-out, but Nexus first is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, in base as well, obviously. So has to mine those minerals initially, and then he's going to Nexus first on a base that is typically very hard to attack, right? Classic's response is just a 1-gate expand before any sort of cyber core, so not really that bad for Classic as a response. Obviously, Astrea will be a little bit ahead, but Classic will still have like a unit and a faster warp gate, so there's a little bit of additional extra for him. His tech will hit a little sooner, so maybe get an Oracle a bit faster. Yeah, the Nexus first is nice. I feel like getting the scout in this super quickly as Classic means that he's kind of going to be okay with it.
I really don't know how this is supposed to play out. Back when we first had, I think, experiments with a non-2-gate opener, 4 years ago, maybe at this point, I do remember seeing maybe half and half on Nexus first versus Gateway expand. And then it really settled, I think, quite quickly into just, one gateway into expand. And then we had the continued perfection of it, especially before Void Rays got nerfed and so on and so forth. But you really barely ever saw Nexus first versus 1-gate expand. So, real rarity. You guys are being treated today. Some awesome games, as well as some new PvP. Stargazers is turning out to be one of the more unique maps. But what I do like about Astrea's position is that he does get into double gateway, able to produce quite quickly, and a double chrono as well, as we can see on those stalkers. Which, I mean, it's kind of... It feels almost reminiscent of like a CC first and a 2-racks, but the point is, like, you can actually get a decent amount early on, even though it looks like one of the greedier builds. I was so confused for a second. Even though, yeah, it looks like a greedier build, you can actually kind of turn this into something really aggressive, because basically you kind of wipe your hands of getting your economy a bit faster and then move into something aggressive, almost like if you took a gold base as well, which Astrea has done on this map. He just, I guess, loves to experiment here.
Yeah, no, Astrea's been a very fun player to watch lately. He's never been boring, right? Like, he's always got something new. He's always testing things out. These stalkers are going to hit each other. Astrea continues to rally across the map. That might become a problem for Classic, but of course it maybe frees up Classic's potential to get across with the Oracle and get in and deal some damage as well. So, for now, the Oracle's going to come and support this Stalker, so it's going to be a Stalker for a Stalker. We force a recall as the Oracle gets some damage done beyond the shields. And that will settle this down for now. Classic does not see the pylon and the additional gate, and now he does. So this probe comes and sees exactly what he wants to see. He goes straight over and hits the probe there. So he's like, no, get out of here. Second pylon plays just to guarantee that this gate is going to get online. And that's obviously really doubling down on what Astrea wants to do. At least a bit of pressure, a bit more aggression, utilizing his high stalker count to kind of keep going in this game for now.
Yeah, exactly. He is getting gases, getting a Twilight Council. It's not like 4-gate pressure or something, but it is going to be aggression, which you guys don't deserve to see. Enjoy the overlay.
We don't want you guys to see all this cool stuff. Oracle actually shows up. There's going to be quite a few probes going down. There's no defense at all in this main base, so that is going to be kind of unfortunate. The Stalker numbers at the front are racking up, but when you're losing probes like this, I mean, you're not going to be able to afford to build all the Stalkers. You want to build the Void Ray when venturing a bit too far forward, but does get out alive. That's huge, because obviously losing that might have just spelled the end of this game for Classic already.
Would have been dangerously close, but it is kind of normalizing. The consistent warpings here from Astrea means that Twilight Council really is not being used. He does finally get the Void Ray, but there are just enough Stalkers there for Classic, always capable of running back into the natural as well. It does seem like this aggression has really not worked out. I think it would have been perfectly fine if he hadn't lost those probes, then he probably could afford to warp in and get Blink. But, you know, that was a big, I guess, oversight there. Astrea was kind of hoping... It looked like that the Oracle would see the natural was overprotected and just kind of give up on life. Maybe just go for a stasis trap, which wouldn't have been too effective. Instead, finds the damage. So now we have Astrea. Yeah, he seems to be one of the wackier players, which I guess is in line with his career, but takes the gold base. Why not?
That always is in line with his region, North America.
Yes.
Doing crazy things. Who would have thought? Yeah. No, it's going to be that gold base as a follow-up. Don't hate it, of course. I think he's definitely fallen a bit behind here. Work counts are fine. Classic definitely seems to have a bit of just more numbers in the army, so I like taking the gold because if you try to take a third, yeah, it might be defendable anyways. Yeah, I'm actually kind of intrigued how this gold works out because I wonder how quickly Classic figures out, should you not be expanding here? And maybe the play is to make Classic worried and then he realizes too late, he's been a bit too defensive, etc. as well. I mean, he starts up a battery straight away on his own third base, which he probably doesn't need at all, considering he's had more army throughout, but now he maybe expects something two-base focused.
That would be the perfect scenario for Astrea, is that Classic says, oh god, it's 2 bases. That's the last thing that he's going to scout since the Oracle died. Then it slowly dawns on him through X, Y, or Z that it's maybe not, and then he checks the gold base. And basically in that time, Nexus is finished, it's already rewarded itself for getting up and running, and then if he tries to go all the way south to punish it, you got to recall, maybe Astrea reads into the punish, get the shield battery up there. That would just be the perfect scenario. So, like, this is good damage. Absolutely. Classic is going to be able to escape, so it is just damage. Astrea is actually a very slow response. But I was going to say, if it was only 8 probes and he had to get out, because this is still going to do damage, I guess, then maybe this is covered by a gold base that has been unscouted, but Classic is getting some serious work done. 14 probes for Astrea have gone down. His 2 adepts enter into the main base for some revenge, but even the defense of the natural with his own stalkers is a bit sketchy.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Classic says, maybe I can't get out of here, so now he's just going to jump on these stalkers and try and trade out at the very end. Obviously a lot of low HP ones, and he does get out with a couple at the very tail end of this. Maybe stuck around a little bit too long, maybe didn't need to be there as long as he was. Obviously loses 6 probes himself, but with 17 killed, he's going to be feeling pretty darn good about things. So, you know, it's definitely a nice little something, and like I say, should be feeling pretty good for the moment as we head into this next stage of the game, which is, yeah, that gold base still online. That's the one thing Classic needs to figure out, but Classic's already taken a 4th as well, so it's not like he's in terrible shape when it comes to the economy.
No, 5 order difference still lends itself to having Classic the 400 mineral per minute like lead. I mean, Astrea maybe just not fully saturated, as he once again he gets his natural injure, but it turns into a bit of an economy trade. Again, I'm not sure anyone's going to go for Nexus. Definitely go for Pylon, something more vulnerable. This time around, Classic has a Warp Prism, so that was his mistake last time, overexerting himself without those instant reinforcements, but now it is different. Astrea is the one that is going to be caught with too little on his side of the map and just not enough on the other side of the map either to truly win a base race.
Yeah, he doesn't win a base trade at all, right? I mean, blink away, get this Stalker as well. Classic has +1 too, so his Stalker's just better. He's continuing to warp in because he's the one that's still mining a little bit right now. He is absolutely set to win out this base trade, and I guess the gold base will buy Astrea a little bit of time, but Classic also just has more bases around the map as well, right? I know maybe not around the map, but he has 4 bases that Astrea has to get through. It gives Classic time to figure out, oh, you're not being revealed. Where else could you have a base? Let's go look at the gold, because that's extremely likely at that stage, especially when you've been on, you know, not 2 bases this time, or at least it maybe doesn't feel like that anymore, so.
This is now a bit weird. It'd be so different if Astrea had any amount of gateways, because he could be warping in with the economy, you know, an actual mining economy going on right now. But he doesn't have the gateways. What he does have is, what, 6 shield batteries down at the gold base? That gold base actually might still be the reason that Astrea wins this game, which he really, I feel like, has no business doing. And now it's no, okay, it was more than 6 shield batteries. There's a lot of shield batteries.
That's what Classic sees as well. He's like, oh my goodness, that is a lot of batteries. The problem is, you mentioned it, right? No production really available to Astrea. So Classic actually, despite being down on workers, has plenty of time to build back up into this and say, okay, well, yeah, you know, you might not be able to attack into. I might not be able to attack into you here. Maybe he still can. He has so many more stalkers and +1. But I think over time, right, he's just gonna have a little bit too much. He's got some zealots to tank as well, which is generally pretty good. Yeah, if nothing else, I mean, the batteries are quite far back. You could just sit and deny half the gold base of mine if you wanted to. I mean, which battery do you even overcharge? Because it's going to get kind of blinked on and killed off immediately. The Zealots are really good at tanking here. The probes are going to come through because he knows he has to try and defend with everything. And that's going to do a lot for Classic just getting back in terms of economy. And this does look as though Classic does indeed close out for the first map of the series.
Imagine just 5 extra stalkers, though. Literally all of Astrea's bank. And, you know, from start to finish, because obviously now it wouldn't have helped out, but at the start to the finish, that might have been enough. Actually, the pro pull has been really effective. Hold on here. A Zealot from Astrea has also just been getting an extraordinary amount of damage for a Zealot. It should never win. This is not a game that Astrea can win, but God, has it gotten close. Oh, but the pro pull is so effective. It stops so many stalkers from shooting. Good lord.
Turns out when, like, every battery can heal every probe, the probes are just, like, all over the place. Yeah, okay, that was maybe a little closer than it should have been at some stage. That is going to be GG's, and we are going to see Classic end that game as Astrea trying to make it crazy. Didn't quite work out well enough for him, unfortunately.
No, it did not. It was that gold base, though. It really wasn't going to throw a wrench into things. Had Classic misunderstood the situation a little bit more, and by the situation, I mean the base trade. If he had been a little bit later to going, oh, okay, that's how it's going to go, and he had not focus fire down the pylons, again, even 5 stalkers, 2 extra zealots with those probe pools. I don't know. I still don't think it wins the game because Classic had brought his probes back to mine. There was actually 30 seconds where he was moving his probes out in the map, potentially going for like a Supreme base race. He moved them back, started mining, so he still had at least 3 Nexus up and running, but I don't know. It just, as I said, no business with Astrea winning that game, but it got kind of close. Yeah, stuck his foot in the door for the interview and then was promptly just like, you know, shut out. But still, that's exciting PvP.
It was an exciting PvP, and obviously it started off with the Nexus first and everything as well, so it started off fun, it stayed very fun, and yeah, even the very last fight, more fun than it perhaps should have really been. In the top right-hand corner of Data C, let's see if our Purple Protoss player can bring it back. It is going to be Astrea from Alpha X.
In the bottom left is the yellow Protoss. He is Classic.
I won't lie, ZG. I have a little bit of bias in this series. I want Classic to win. And the reason is because Classic is the only player not to have signed my Casted Civil War trophy from my team. And he was at Home Story Cup, but I didn't disturb him on the first day, because like, that's 4 days, he was playing the first group and stuff, right? Got knocked out, never came back to the venue. And I was just like, oh. So, even though, like, in the end I gave it to another one of the players to give him his trophy, but I was getting my trophy signed by them all, so I kind of want Classic to slight bias win and get to the Netherlands, and this time, I will, whether he's setting up to play his 1 game or whatever, I will get him to sign it. I refuse to let him get away a second time.
It'd be kind of stalking him. Just waiting, watching.
Wait for him to literally just leave his keyboard for 2 seconds.
Classic's gonna be like asking the other Korean players, like, who the hell is this guy? Like, what is he doing?
Who is this guy? I played for his team like 1 time, like, a bit weird.
I have the WCS trading cards, right? Which, God, there's more trading cards. And there are a couple of players I still haven't gotten signed. How many cards were there? I want to say 52, 40? But for no particular reason. 40?
I think it was 40. Yeah.
Okay, let's just go with that, because whatever. But I think I have 32 of them signed. I'm so close to having all of them signed, but some of those names that have not signed include Duck Duck. And there is an opportunity, maybe, when he was playing Heroes of the Storm, if I had gone to Korea at that point. And I think one of them's MMA, which I actually have had the opportunity. Like, I literally saw him at the at a Frost Giant premiere in Korea, and I just hadn't brought the card. And I was so sad about my life. There's like a couple others too, and I can't remember. Oh, Revival. When am I ever going to see Revival again?
Yeah, I don't think Revival's coming back. You know, I can see like MMA and like Duck are kind of still involved in esports as far as I know, to some extent at least. But like Revival,
exactly. I'm never going to complete the set because I really wanted to, and then I wanted to, you know, get some type of frame and actually put it as a background object, but it just won't feel the same if it's not signed. Like I know the okay, we have a PvP by the way, so I swear we'll wrap this up, but the Stockholm studio where we did the offline events last year had one of those, but none of them were signed. I was like, I'll one up you one day. I'll detective work my way to Revival's house.
I remember they had that massive one, right? And they had even multiple of some of them.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh, that's kind of cool in this random studio in Sweden that has nothing else SC2 related in it.
Right?
That's
yeah.
funny.
All right, so I said we swear we'll talk about the PvP. Let's do that. No supremely tricky openers with the low ground expansions, but it is still PvP, so it can get very tricky. Classic is going for Stargate opener, and Astrea, he's not just going for a Twilight Council, he also is adding a proxy pylon.
Yeah. It's going to be something that, especially after watching the last game, we've got to keep an eye on, right? Because Astrea has definitely shown us he is very willing to play a bit crazy and to play a bit out there, and just in general, the last month or so, I've been casting a few of his games, and he really has had this kind of wild. I know he's always been like a bit of a wild guy and like always brought his own style, but like he's been playing, I'd say, much wilder than usual, you know, and taking a lot more risks, doing things that are a little bit crazy. Been kind of fun to watch. These Stalkers well positioned, the Oracles will get a probe and then be pushed away, a little bit of full damage on them. And that'll be about it, as Classic adds extra gates of his own. His Blink not that far behind, considering he has double Oracle to work with here. But I kind of like that as the pylon so far used for some Adepts, and now we're adding a gateway to it.
A little bit of aggression. More than a little bit. Well, this is perhaps a little bit. 2 Adepts heading into the main base, not really near the probe line. Usually this is where Protoss player can clean it up pretty quickly, but as usual when they have units reacting, there are some Stalkers. So it's, I think, less about the damage the Adepts are doing right here, right now, which, I mean, if they killed 6 probes, it would still be pretty good. As much as it is perhaps the distraction that's also being set up. 4 probes go down, decent enough. Oracles got brought back home. 2 more Adepts looking for more damage. Maybe 4 more probes. And then if the Stalkers start warping in or go across the map, I do wonder if that could be a little, like, prompt to actually get maybe a quick, cheeky cancel on the 3rd Nexus. So far, just the gateway for the Adept weapon, so.
Yeah, I actually kind of believed here that this was sort of Astrea as he walks into one Stasis Sword. I thought Astrea might be like, oh cool, this amount of damage, let's really kind of get going for a little bit of like, you know, Stalker pressure, but it seems like that might not come to fruition as 1 pylon kill, the replacement should be cancelled, and that is no cancel as well. And we even recall back, because Classic's like, hey, you didn't cancel the pylon. You're like, are you that close? Do you think you're going to get here? And he does recall out, and probably the right decision as well. And now I feel like Classic's going to be kind of okay. Without reinforcements, don't think Astrea can really do much at all, even with that Blink finish. And of course now Classics is done. So yeah, Classic just going to warp in a few extra Stalkers. And actually Classic might be able to take a decent fight here if he realizes he can just blink forwards. And yeah, these Stalkers are going to be in a really awkward spot for Astrea. Oh.
This could have lined up so much better. The way that it does now, yeah, it looks way more awkward for Astrea. Like, not like game over awkward, just, you know, was there really going to be a punchline to that particular joke? Now he has to explain the joke, and it's gotten really awkward. No one's laughing. But Astrea is still on 3 bases. He did just lose 7 probes to a bit of an Oracle run by. But his 3 bases are 3. Either one of them has the upgrade. Neither one of them has a forge, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. So it's, you know, there could have been a lot of moments in this PvP. The Oracles maybe could have even done more damage earlier on. The Adept certainly could. And Astrea could have done Adept into Stalker pressure, cancel on the 3rd base, boom. He's quite far ahead, perhaps, but that was pretty even.
Yeah, no, it really is going to even out. This is going to get weird, though, because Astrea is going to find Classic on the other side of the map. Now, because Astrea is here first, he can do damage and potentially recall. Loses his Immortal straight away, though, so maybe that's an opening. Classic did finish up his own Robo. He gets forward. He's going to supply block Astrea. He's going to get into this natural. He's going to kill the Stalkers to protect his Oracle, or at least try to. The Pro Pull is back, CG. Oh my god, it's so good as well. The move command there was actually insane on those Stalkers. I was kind of joking, but the Pro Pulls have been insane in this series.
Seriously though, the last game, I just could not believe how many, like, they trapped 3 stalkers in the very, very, very final battle. They had about half the stalkers not firing.
Oh my god,
like,
again,
exactly. Like, the AI derping is what's really effective right now. But we need something more with it. Maybe. That's actually going to be such an even base trade once again. Seriously, down to even the probe kills currently. Although there you have it. Astrea starting to rack up far more, but it's a lot because Classic pulled his probes, and now they're going to be attacking Astrea's defensive stalkers. Probe pool's secret MVP of PvP. Do it more, guys, apparently. And I will just reiterate in case you are confused. Classic has his army and his probes on Astrea's natural nexus.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Obviously, it's kind of funky because now Astrea is still mining on the 3rd base, and that's something that Classic doesn't have. He recalls his probes. Get back home. Get back to mining. Obviously, this looks great for Classic now because he actually gets back to mining. He's going to knock Astrea down at just 1 base. He's knocked all the production offline. These are things which Classic Astrea didn't really achieve himself.
Right. Yes, exactly. So even though the probe count really isn't that bad, it's only 3 worker difference. Well, Astrea just lost 2 Nexus. So there is the huge difference. Now, Classic did just use a recall for his probes. Oh, but perfectly timed Immortal. He had 1 probe back at home that was just building a pylon. Then he recalled, I think. Then he had an Immortal building. Perfectly timed to help what could have been 4 stalkers could have killed 8 probes. Right? Or maybe the first 2 stalkers and 4 more probes because there was no recall for the main army. But instead, again, situation being Classic 3 base, 28 probes to Astrea 1 base, 22 probes. That's good for Astrea.
Interesting fight because Classic blinks down thinking it's only 4 Stalkers, then the rest of them show up. He is target firing Stalkers down, so it's actually turned into a fairly even trade. Just Classic wants to get away from here. This group of Stalkers hasn't been reinforced for a while for Classic, and that's why he's lacking, even though overall he has higher army supply. And yeah, Classic going to be able to reinforce a little bit further. Astrea back to some Immortal production of his own. Classic just 3 probes at once, man. I mean, Astrea is basically 1 base all in. 9.5 minutes, or 10 minutes into the game. It's going to re-expand to his natural.
It's going to be difficult to come back in this one, man.
Yeah.
Oh, had he
Really
sent
difficult.
Classic down to, I'm going to guess, maybe sub 10 probes with 3 Nexus? Because then you can't even produce 3 probes at a time, right? Maybe? Effectively in 1 base to 1 base? But
Yeah.
yeah, this is game over. I love the Dark Shrine attempt, but it is... Astrea would have to immediately dive after the Robo. The pylon, then the Robo. Oh, no, there's an Observer. Never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you got to protect the Observer too, right? As Classic's not quite sure about attacking into the mountain of batteries, so the Dark Shrine starts to look like a better idea, right? It's the sort of thing that could create the chaos to help you out back into the game, so don't hate it. I feel like it's a cool move. Definitely one way to take some steps back in the right direction, because you kind of need something right now based on how this is looking as Astrea. So yeah, worth the risk, and we'll see if it can actually pay off for herself. That's obviously going to be the big question in the next few moments.
If he's so hype if Astrea kills his opponent's Observer and then warps in DTs.
Yeah, and we have a game, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I guess the other alternative, well, I was going to say maybe if Classic started to move out to try and end the game, and then 3 DTs kill the majority of his probes, even then, again, his recall is available. It's been a while since the probe recall back home. I do believe Astrea was not only looking for little points of damage with this double-pronged Stalker attack, he might have also been looking for the Observer. That's got to be something he knows he's got to do. His opponent has a Robo, very likely as an Observer. But currently, biding his time, I guess. Waiting until a DT warp in actually be useful. Okay, setting him across the map now.
Yeah, Classic is obviously unlikely to notice those. He's currently just picking up Stalkers everywhere, and yeah, this is the DT, so here we go. They're going to arrive, and we are going to see what Classic does. He's currently building a Prism. Classic is he is going to be still not having the DTs do anything. He blinks straight on top of these Immortals. He's going to take a massive fight. DTs will warp in defensively here, and we will see. I don't know where the Observer currently is for Classic. Oh, here it is. So it's going to show up, kills the Observer, he kills the DTs, and this is pretty much just going to be all good for Classic. So DTs across the map will be manageable. He's got a new Observer pop, and he can now fight those. And obviously this army is not getting removed. Game is called, and Classic gets the 2-0